Welcome everyone. Today you're about to witness one of the most powerful, unbelievable, and life-changing stories of our time. A story that didn't begin in a billion-dollar office, but inside a small garage. With two college students, no money, no experience, and a dream so big even the world wasn't ready for it. This is not just the story of a company. This is the story of how two unknown students created something that transformed every second of your life. From how you search, how you learn, how you work, and even how you dream. Today, we can't imagine a day without typing something into Google. But have you ever wondered how it all began? Who were the minds behind it? How did they go from two students building a weird search engine to running one of the most powerful empires the world has ever seen? This is not a fairy tale. This is a real story of pain, rejection, obsession, and an unstoppable dream. This story is filled with moments that will make you emotional. Moments that will make you want to fight for your own dreams harder than ever. And moments that will prove that you don't need to be born rich, popular, or lucky. You just need a crazy vision and relentless action. So sit back, take a deep breath. Because what you're about to hear is not just a tech story. It's a human story. A story that proves impossible is nothing. This is the mind-blowing journey of Google. From a Stanford dorm room to a garage to controlling nearly every corner of the internet and changing the way we live forever. Part 1. Two nerds, one dream. The birth of an idea before the word Google even existed. Before the internet became a part of your daily life, two young students were sitting in their university dorm rooms, obsessed with a question that no one else seemed to care about. How can we organize all the information in the world and make it useful? Let's rewind to 1995 at Stanford University, California. This is where two very different individuals met for the first time. Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Larry Page was not an ordinary student. He was the son of two computer science professors. He grew up in Michigan surrounded by computers, printers, and piles of tech magazines. He wasn't interested in parties. He wasn't interested in sports. His brain was wired differently. He wanted to understand systems, solve big problems, and think far beyond the average mind. Larry was quiet, curious, and always thinking about how things work. And even from a young age, he believed information could change the world, if only we could organize it properly. Sergey Brin was born in Moscow, Russia, and moved to the United States when he was just 6 years old. His family escaped communist oppression so they could live in a free country. His father was a mathematician. His mother was a NASA scientist. From a very young age, Sergey was surrounded by logic, discipline, and high expectations. But Sergey had a rebellious mind. He wasn't afraid to challenge ideas or speak up. He was sharp, witty, bold, and full of energy. So when Larry met Sergey at Stanford, they didn't like each other at first. Yes, that's the truth. They argued in almost every conversation. Different personalities, different styles, but the same curiosity. Both of them were obsessed with the power of information. Back in the 90s, the internet was growing fast, but it was chaotic. There were websites, but no good way to find the right one. You'd type something and get 100 useless results. Search engines like AltaVista, Lias, and Yahoo existed, but they were not accurate. They didn't understand which page was actually the best. Larry started wondering, what if we could rank pages based on how many other pages linked to them, like a vote system? If more sites point to one site, maybe that one is important. It was a brilliant idea, but no one saw it yet. Larry called his idea Backrub. It was named this because it analyzed back links on the web. He discussed it with Sergey. Sergey, being the genius with mathematics, saw the potential instantly. They teamed up, and that's when something powerful began. Two students, one idea, one goal. Organize the world's information and make it accessible and useful. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to change the world forever. They started writing code in their dorm rooms day and night, sometimes 20 hours straight. They used cheap parts to build their first servers. They borrowed old computers, stacked them in towers, and ran tests every day. They weren't thinking about becoming billionaires. They weren't even thinking about building a company. They just wanted to create something that actually worked. They were solving a real problem and they believed the world needed it. Eventually, they realized the name Backrub didn't sound right. They needed something that would represent huge amounts of data. So, they chose the word Google, a play on the number, which is a 1 followed by 100 zeros. It was fun. It was unique and it represented their mission to handle endless amounts of information. And just like that, Google was born, but no one was interested. Not yet. They pitched it to Yahoo to excite tech investors. Everyone rejected them. Some laughed. Some said, search is not a business. Why waste your time? Some said this will never work. You're just students. Larry and Sergey were crushed. But they didn't stop because the fire inside them was bigger than the noise around them. They believed in their idea more than the world doubted it. And that belief, that obsession is what gave birth to the greatest tech empire in history. Part 2. Built in a garage, rejected by giants, but they never gave up. Larry Page and Sergey Brin had created something revolutionary. Google, a search engine that could actually understand which websites were valuable. But here's the truth. Most people don't know. Having a great product is not enough. If no one believes in you, no one funds you, and no one gives you a chance, you are just a genius with an idea collecting dust. That's exactly what happened. They had a working product, but no money, no company, no office, no employees, and worse, they had no one who believed in them. So now began the real war, the war of convincing people to give them a shot. Larry and Sergey started doing everything they could to raise money. They pitched Google to Yahoo. Yahoo said, "We're not interested in search right now. People don't want to find things. They want to stay on our homepage longer." Translation: Yahoo wanted to distract users, not help them leave quickly by giving fast answers. They didn't understand that fast, clean search was the future. Rejected. Then they went to Excite, another popular company at that time. Excite's CEO looked at Google and admitted, "Yes, it's good. Yes, it's better than what we have." But still, he said no. Rejected again over and over. They kept hearing the same answers. Search engines don't make money. You can't build a business on that. You're just two students. What do you know about business? They weren't just rejected. They were ignored, disrespected, underestimated. Every door was closed. But they didn't stop because when the world slams the door on your face, you have two choices. Cry and quit or build your own door and walk through it. They chose the second one. In 1998, something unexpected happened. One man, Andy Beckelheim, the co-founder of Sun Microsystems, agreed to meet Larry and Sergey early in the morning. They showed him a demo of Google on the Stanford campus outside on a picnic table. He didn't ask for a fancy business plan. He didn't wait for perfection. He saw the demo and said just one thing: "I don't need to hear more. This is amazing. Here's a check for $100,000. That single check was the turning point. But here's the funny part. Google didn't even exist as a company yet. They had no business bank account. So, they had to rush and register the company. And finally, on September 4, 1998, they officially launched Google, Inc. That check gave them the first push, but it was still just the beginning. Now, they had to do the impossible: build the future of the internet from a garage. They didn't have money for an office. So, they rented a garage from their friend Susan Wiki in Menlo Park, California. Susan later became the CEO of YouTube. Yes, history was being made in that garage. Inside that small garage with just a few desks, old furniture, and secondhand servers, they started working day and night. There were no fancy perks, no staff, no security, just obsession and determination. They brought in a few friends as early engineers. They didn't sleep much. They didn't party. They didn't take weekends off because they weren't just building a company. They were building a mission to change how the world accesses knowledge. As Google started getting attention from tech lovers, more people began using it. The results were better, cleaner, faster, more useful than Yahoo, Lycos, or Ask Jeeves. People loved it. Investors noticed. In 1999, Google raised $25 million from top investors like Kleiner Perkins and Sequoia Capital. With this funding, they moved out of the garage and into a real office. They hired a team. They built faster servers. They kept improving the algorithm, constantly tweaking to make search faster, smarter, and more relevant. And while other tech companies were still trying to be web portals, Google focused on one thing only: search. While everyone else was chasing money, Larry and Sergey were chasing mission. Simple page, massive impact. Google's homepage was different. It was empty. Just a search box. No flashing ads, no news, no distractions. Why? Because they believed one thing: the best design is no design. People come here to find answers. Let's help them fast. That user-first mindset became their secret weapon. And soon Google was exploding in popularity. By 2000, they were processing over 18 million searches per day. By 2001, that number jumped to over 100 million. But here's what made it special. They still didn't run big banner ads. They didn't sell user data. They kept their values clear: speed, simplicity, truthful results, and people trusted them. But every company, no matter how great the mission, needs to make money. So in 2000, Google introduced AdWords, a system that allowed businesses to show small text ads related to what people were searching. If you searched by shoes, you'd see a small ad for a shoe store. Nothing annoying. And the genius part, advertisers only paid when someone clicked the ad. This changed everything. It was fair, efficient, and scalable. Google was now printing money, but without annoying its users. They had cracked the code. Help the user plus help businesses equals help the world. AdWords made Google profitable, then unstoppable. And they still weren't done. By 2002, Google had indexed over 3 billion web pages. By 2003, they had offices in multiple countries. In 2004, they launched Gmail, a free email service with 1 GB of space. Everyone else was offering just 2 to 4 megabytes. It shocked the world. Later they launched Google Maps, Google News, and Google Images. They were turning into an ecosystem of tools, all free, all fast, all better. On August 19, 2004, Google went public on the stock market. Its shares opened at $85. Today, those shares are worth hundreds of billions. Larry and Sergey became billionaires. But more importantly, they proved that purpose can build power. Part 3, Global Expansion, Ruthless Innovation. How Google took over the world. By 2004, Google had already changed the rules of the internet. They weren't just a company. They were a movement. People trusted them, investors wanted them, and their mission to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible was finally becoming real. But here's what most people don't understand. The world doesn't stay quiet when you succeed. The bigger you get, the more people try to stop you. And Google's next phase wasn't peaceful. It was a battlefield full of threats, takeovers, and bold moves. Let's begin. The moment Google became big, it threatened the tech titans of the time. Microsoft, which ruled computers with Windows and search with MSN. Yahoo, which once rejected Google, now felt the heat. Apple, a rising force in hardware, would soon enter the fight. Google was surrounded by powerful companies with massive money, lawyers, and deep control over software and devices. But Larry and Sergey had one thing none of them had: the hunger to keep evolving no matter how big they became. Even after their IPO, they made a rule. Inside the company, don't become slow. They encouraged employees to use 20% of their work time to chase their own creative ideas. This 20% rule gave birth to Gmail, the fastest, smartest email tool. Google News, news articles sorted automatically. Google Books, scanning and saving the world's knowledge. Google Images. After people searched Jennifer Lopez's dress at the 2000 Grammys, they weren't waiting for problems. They were chasing the future. And the world started noticing. By the late 2000s, one thing was clear: the future wasn't on desktop. It was in your pocket. People were shifting from computers to mobile phones. And at that time, Apple had launched the iPhone, changing everything. Apple was rising fast. If Google didn't move now, they could lose the next war. So, what did they do? They quietly bought a small startup called Android Inc. in 2005, led by Andy Rubin. At that time, Android was just an idea. But Larry and Sergey saw the future, their vision. An open-source mobile operating system that anyone could use, not just one company like Apple. They gave Android everything: resources, talent, freedom. And in 2008, the first Android phone was released, the HTC Dream. It wasn't perfect, but it was free, flexible, and full of potential. Soon, Samsung, Motorola, LG, everyone joined Android. The war with Apple had begun. And over the next decade, Android would dominate over 80% of the world's smartphones. Let's rewind to 2006. Two friends, Steve Chen and Chad Hurley, had created a simple platform where users could upload videos. It was fun, casual, and new. The site, YouTube, it was growing fast. Too fast. Google saw this as both a threat and an opportunity. So, what did they do? They bought YouTube for $1.65 billion in less than 2 years after its creation. At the time, people thought Google was crazy, but they weren't. Today, YouTube is the second most visited website in the world after Google itself. And it's not just entertainment. It's education, business, art, and global culture. Meanwhile, Google didn't stop building. They launched Google Maps, allowing you to explore the world in real time. Google Earth, giving you satellite views of any place on the planet. Google Translate, breaking language barriers. Google Drive, storing your documents in the cloud. Google Docs, replacing Microsoft Word for millions. Chrome, a lightning-fast browser that became #1 in the world. Every tool was faster, cleaner, smarter, free. They weren't just solving problems, they were reprogramming modern life. What about the money? While all these tools were free, Google was still making billions. How their main engine, AdWords, now rebranded as Google Ads. Every business wanted to be visible on Google, and Google gave them the power to target the right user at the right time. From small stores to giant corporations, everyone paid Google, and this advertising engine powered all their free tools. It was a perfect system. Help the user, trust increases. Help the advertiser, profits increase. Keep the mission pure, grow forever. Most companies stop when they're successful. But Larry and Sergey built a secretive division called X, also known as the Moonshot Factory. Their goal: solve the world's hardest problems using radical technologies. Projects from X include self-driving cars, Waymo, internet from high-altitude balloons, Loon, smart contact lenses for measuring glucose, Google Glass, augmented reality glasses. Some failed, some succeeded. But that wasn't the point. Google kept its soul as a search engine, but its brain as a lab. Success always brings responsibility, and Google had its share of criticisms, privacy concerns. Is Google watching us? Accusations of monopoly. Is Google too powerful? Fines from the EU. Billions for breaking antitrust laws. Censorship debates. What should be shown and what should be removed? Employee protests. Ethical concerns about working with governments and military projects. These weren't just technical problems. They were moral battles. And Google had to evolve not just as a company but as a global citizen to respond to growing pressure. In 2015, Google restructured itself. They created a new parent company, Alphabet Incorporated. Now Google was just one part of a bigger vision. Under Alphabet were Google, YouTube, Android, Waymo, DeepMind, AI Lab, Calico, Life Extension Research, Verily, Healthcare. Alphabet gave them flexibility, focus, and future readiness. AI: the next revolution. In the last decade, Google made another bold move. Bet everything on artificial intelligence. They acquired DeepMind, one of the world's most advanced AI companies. They launched tools like Google Assistant, Google Lens, BERT and Gemini, AI language models. Google translates neural engine AI-powered search that understands your intent, not just keywords. Google was no longer just organizing information. Now it was trying to understand it, predict it, and help you think better. Let's pause here. How did this happen? How did two students build an empire that now touches every phone, every email, every map, every search, every language, every video, every document, every digital moment? It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was a combination of vision, not short-term money, but long-term impact. Speed: move fast, break things, fix them better. User-first mindset: solve real problems, never overcomplicate. Hiring only the best minds, from engineers to designers to dreamers. Continuous risk-taking, never settling, always experimenting, staying obsessed with learning. Every failure was a data point. Culture of innovation: even interns could build billion-dollar ideas. Google became more than a company. It became an extension of human intelligence. Part 4. Power, Pressure, and Letting Go. The emotional weight of building Google. After years of innovation, expansion, and global domination, Google was everywhere. You searched something, it was Google. You needed directions, Google. You watched a video, YouTube, owned by Google. You used a smartphone, chances are it ran on Android, also Google. You typed an email, Gmail. You opened a browser, Chrome. You stored a file, Google Drive. You translated a word, Google Translate. Google had become a second brain for humanity. But here's the truth: the more powerful you become, the more you lose control. And soon Larry Page and Sergey Brin found themselves running something that was no longer just a project or a business. It was a living ecosystem. It was a part of modern civilization. And with that came difficult questions, impossible decisions, and deep emotional battles. When Google was small, its values were simple. Focus on the user. Build great things. Never be evil. But as it grew, those values were tested again and again. Here are some of the challenges. Censorship and free speech. Should Google show results that include hate speech? Should it hide illegal content? What about politically sensitive topics in certain countries? In some nations, governments demanded Google remove results that criticized them. If Google refused, it could be banned in that country. If Google agreed, it could be accused of supporting censorship. There was no easy answer. The very company that once promised to make all knowledge available was now buying